Welcome to Thoughts and Discourses on Digital Transformation. Dive into a world of insightful conversations and profound ideas. Join us as we explore the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities in the digital age. Stay tuned for engaging discussions and expert opinions that will inspire and inform.
Okay, I'm back with another 10-minute video, and this time I'm talking to my old friend Vishal. Vishal, we haven't talked in what, a year and a half, 2 years. So,
Almost 2 years,
you
yes.
want to give everybody an introduction to what you've been doing? We were at Mastercard together, and then you moved on to do some really cool Gen AI work. So you want to give a brief history on what you were doing and what you've been doing now would be great.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Colin. It was great connecting with you after almost 2 years. And I think we share, common lineage with MasterCard. So I left MasterCard almost last year, sometime in July, and after that, I've been upgrading myself into developing, the agentic AI frameworks and applications. I've done, some great courses from one of the universities locally in India, and then I started consulting a lot of startups in different areas, of healthcare, the education, as well as the real estate also. Yeah, I mean, they also need a lot of AI work happening, in that space also. So I've been, doing and developing a lot of applications on agentic AI for a lot of, people. And the recent thing that I've done on the healthcare side is try to develop my own, platform, which is typically to do with clinical database management system. So that's something which I plan to launch formally sometime in future, and I've utilized the no-code AI platforms to develop most of the work that I've done. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we were talking earlier, right? You had used a couple of tools, right? You want to talk through the tools and maybe some pros and cons of each of the tools that you've seen.
Yes, sure. So there are actually multiple tools now which are available in the market, which all of them, most of them rather claim to be no code, which to some extent, yes, they are no code, but I still feel a person with completely lack of coding knowledge might find it still a bit difficult to use them. Although I don't say that it will always be like this. Probably in another 6 months' time, these tools will evolve themselves to a level where I think a person who has never even seen how to code might be able to utilize it completely to write their own applications. But at this stage, I think most of these tools that I've actually tried and worked on and compared, I still feel that you have to have some very basic, programming knowledge, and then it will be much more effective when you try to develop your own application. So a couple of tools that I've utilized, the Google's, Firebase that, just very recently came up. Then I tried to use Lovable, and there are a couple of other tools also. In fact, the Copilot also, which is now integrated with the, the development environments, that also is a great tool. Cursor is another, a great tool which completely integrates with your, development, platforms. But when it comes to developing something from scratch, and when you're trying to create an application, which can convert your idea which is running in your mind into a practical working application, I realized Lovable turned out to be one of the best tools. The most simplistic, and probably something which produces the output which is a lot better than a lot of other tools. Because in most of the other tools, I think the kind of issues that you try, that you face and that you encounter, and compared to the kind of issues that you face in Lovable, is definitely much superior. The experience was much superior in Lovable. So I have used
Yeah.
Lovable to develop a lot of apps. Yes.
Right. So now, we both worked at enterprise level companies, and one of the big things that we're always worried about is security. So what have you seen with tools like Lovable? How well do they handle security? Do they have any major security flaws? Do they even do like row level security on database? What do you see? What have you seen?
Yes. So, the interesting thing, Colin, here is that, so for example, let me just take the example of Lovable. It provides you connectivity to a database called Superbase. All right. Now, Supabase is a managed database management system, and there is a default connectivity of any application that you develop on Lovable, and it will automatically allow you to directly connect to Supabase. It will create your schemas. It will create everything possibly that you can think of from a security perspective to secure your database also. So Lovable is able to generate those constraints, or rather provisions, which in fact Supabase itself provides to secure your database. So that is one thing which you can automatically achieve through Lovable. But again, the important thing here is that it all depends on how do you conceive the application to be working. So as I said, like, you still need some kind of the knowledge of how development generally happen and how typical architectures look like. So if you have that knowledge, you will be able to create all those guardrails around the application that you're trying to develop, as long as you're able to specify them clearly to Lovable. So this is again something which I say is by default, whatever basic security is possible, it will be provided by whatever database connectivity you use and whatever application you are developing. But if you want anything specific in terms of securing your overall application from, let's say, external attacks and all, you have to be able to specify certain things which you want, which you are already aware that yes, this is something which must exist. Then it'll, of course, Lovable will be able to help you there. It'll develop it for you basically. So you can still achieve a no code, security deployment of your application. That's how it typically works.
And what's the best way for people to build lovable applications? What I see is people get to a certain level and then it just goes
Yes.
crazy and hallucinates and generates pages and other content
Yes.
that wasn't asked for. So what have you done to be able to control this and be a
Yes.
bit more systematic about this?
Yes, so there is a very basic procedure, or rather guidelines, which have to be followed when you're trying to actually work these typical AI tools and all. Now the basic guideline is that, first of all, just like you typically do a software development, there is a typical SDLC process wherein you have to have, let's say, a PRD to start with. So all your ideas, what your application should be doing, how your what are different features that you'd like to have in your application, how do you want to manage the functionality all around your workflows in your application, all of it you actually have to define in a PRD. And here also you can do pretty much the same thing, that you define a PRD. Now there is a concept in Lovable which is called maintaining a knowledge file. Now what this knowledge file is actually the bible of your entire application that you're trying to develop. So what happens is that with every instruction that you provide to Lovable or to any of these AI tools, and if you want to ensure that it does not hallucinate and it always kind of connects it to the previous context, then you should always have a knowledge file attached to every instruction that you're trying to send. Basically you will just keep knowledge file in one place, and then Lovable will ensure that it always has the entire background and the context of what you've done till now. So this is one of the ways in which you can manage and avoid a lot of hallucinations that typically happen. Because what happens is that if you've provided a lot of I would say the prompts to generate your code, you think you are continuously moving forward, but then what happens is after a point in time it starts to screw up things which you had done earlier, and you just want to ensure that that doesn't happen. So that is the reason why you need to have a knowledge file which will always ensure that you don't lose the previous context. And then there is a very typical prompting techniques you have to use. Now this is where the prompt engineering becomes very relevant now, because we've all heard of prompt engineering becoming so relevant, and the highest paid people in the world today are prompt engineers. So it is very relevant actually, even though I don't think that you really have to go for some very high level scientific way of trying to prompt. You can still do it in a normal English, the way people understand English, but that prompt structure is also pretty important. You can define what kind of constraints you want. You can always tell your AI tool like Lovable to say that, okay, don't or rather make a change starting from t is equal to 0, wherein you are trying to just inform that, okay, the changes that I'm making go back to the point where t was 0. Like that, you have to be very clever in trying to prompt, and then you have to also kind of identify the constraints that you don't want application to be doing. So you have to clearly state that. So for example, you change this particular, let's say, drop down in a feature like this, but do not change in any other place, beyond what I'm clearly mentioning here. So these are typical prompting techniques which you have to be very, very sure of. Otherwise, I think after hard work, you would reach 80% of application development, and then you will realize that, oh, now lovable is no longer usable because it just screws up other things. So yeah, you have to be
And
clever
what
with
have
the
you
prompts.
seen? Is it big prompts like giving lots of things for Lovable to do, or just one at a time,
Yes.
like a 5-year-old?
Yes, it's a very, very relevant question. So once you have actually developed your prototype, so the mechanism is that you first complete your prototype. You should know that the prototype that you're developing without any backend functionality is complete in terms of the functionality and the features that you want to provide. And then you start to drill down on each individual feature by prompting. So the prompt cannot be very, very long. You cannot do too many things in one prompt. You have to be able to break down your prompts into smaller chunks, because the moment you go beyond a couple of statements in a prompt, it starts to hallucinate, because either it will ignore what you're trying to say, or it'll maybe do something which you never expected it to do. So the prompts have to be smaller, they have to be broken into logical small units, but don't try to do too many things together, saying that, because a lot of people will think that, oh, I might save a lot of credits by not writing too many prompts one after the other, because it's all a game of credits and cost also. So the prompt has to be logically connected to each other, and it should be for one particular logical unit, and can't be develop this feature here, develop that feature there, or put a validation here, do something there. That is not the way of doing it. It will completely destroy your experience.
Okay, I'm gonna try and share my screen. Okay, great. So this is what you built, right? So
Yes.
how long did it take you to go build this? And was there a lot of trial and error, or was it just
Yes.
a one shot and you got it done?
Definitely, it was a lot of trial and error. It was not a one shot. Although I started to learn a lot of techniques as I was continuously going one by one. I started to learn a lot of techniques, how to better the prompting, how to go and approach it in a logical fashion and all. Uh, in terms of, I think, the time that I've spent in developing this whole, it's like a working prototype now. I still wouldn't call it a complete application, but it's a working prototype. So it is connected to the database. It brings, it stores records. It fetches the record. It in fact is connected to AI service also, which is able to scan the PDF documents and provide you diagnosis. So that is a separate thing now. The AI service was developed separately, but I connected that AI service to one of the features, from this app and all. So it has taken, I would say, approximately 15 to 20 hours, somewhere between 15 to 20 hours, to actually bring up this application to a level like this, with approximately 30 to 35 lovable credits. So that is what it has taken me to bring to this stage.
So that's interesting. So this is one lovable app, and then you have another service, and
Yes.
that I think is some of the future of doing this vibe
Yes.
coding is instead of doing everything in one, you
Yeah.
actually have a set of services
Yeah.
that then the application then controls, and that limits,
Yes.
I would call it the blast radius of the GenAI going crazy and
Exactly.
just messing up, right? Do you see that being the same way?
Yes, exactly. So, see, there are a lot of specific services which I wouldn't like to be developed as part of just as a lovable service, because there are other, I would say, if I were really a no code person, then I would probably use NA10 as a platform. So NA10 is another platform, workflow automation platform, wherein I can develop my AI services. So what I've done in this platform is that I have developed my AI services, which provide the AI workflows on this application separately, which is on NA10, which is another AI tool which can help you visually build all your AI workflows. And then I have connected that particular service, into integrated that service here within Lovable. So if you click on a certain button, it will just utilize that service. So that's how it works. So it is developed outside the Lovable framework, but it is connected through one of the options and one of the buttons here itself. And that
Okay,
is the way to go,
that's
really. That is the way to go,
yeah,
really. Yeah.
yeah, and so this is much faster than if you had to code it up
Yes.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then do you think you'd be able to get this into production, or would it be a rewrite or a partial rewrite with using a developer?
Yeah. So, the fair thing to say would be that I'm probably 80 to 85% done with this particular app. But the toughest part is that last 15%. Now, it is that last 15% where, the very, very basic nuances will have to be fixed. And I think it'll be better to actually work with a developer, to fix that last mile, which is probably around, 10 to 15%. If you've already covered the broader functionality in the overall application, it would really help because first of all, one of the reasons is that you could still do it within Lovable also, but you would be wasting a lot of credits to fix minor things. For example, you want to change some font somewhere, you want to put a very small validation somewhere, you want to change the list which is coming or shown in the drop downs. You wouldn't like to waste your credits and spend money on trying to do that. It will be much cheaper to actually just go outside, develop the get a developer involved and just fix it through and through. But that is only the last 10 to 15% of your app now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that seems a common problem, right? Trying to get
Yes.
that last 10 to 15%
Yes.
done. And that will be interesting to see, right? If you were to get a developer, right? The nice thing with Lovable, right? It's React. You can push the code to
Yes.
GitHub. A
Yes.
developer can then go in and fix it. It would be
Yes.
interesting to see what happens when Lovable makes a change. Does it keep that code or does it
Yes.
override it or ignore it? So
Yeah. No,
that
so
could be the
Lovable is able to sync your code with GitHub right now.
Mhm.
It doesn't overwrite anything. You can make your change. See, what I've done is, in fact, another technique that I've utilized, which I think I should probably also highlight here, is that for some piece of code which I felt was easier to develop, outside of Lovable, for example, I have done that and I've just plugged it in back into my one of the function calls in Lovable. I've just connected it through Lovable, so you can still do small pieces outside of Lovable also. For example, you can use OpenAI also. OpenAI can also generate code if you just ask it to develop a specific unit of code. So you can develop some piece of code there and then just connect it back to your application within Lovable. See, it's a it's a very interesting playground. I mean, there is no
Right.
limit to your imagination how you would like to make the whole thing faster and to launch it to the production also. So there are a lot of things that you can actually manipulate like this. Yeah, you don't
Okay.
have to completely depend on one tool. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the goal is not depend on one tool, right?
Yeah.
That's great. So we're about out of time. So maybe any last thoughts about GenAI development now that you've been doing it for a year?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the world is changing very, very fast. I have seen, these changes. I would rather say that the world has completely turned upside down in the last 2 years, as far as the development practices are concerned. There is no startup right now, which is not using vibe coding today. So vibe coding is the concept of future. Today, a lot of people say that vibe coding can only do this much, but I think the time is not far away. Maybe another 6 months or maximum 1 year down the line, you would see that vibe coding is able to completely replace, what typical, developers have, been doing till now. So I think the simple thing is that we have to move along with this changing paradigm in the development world. The world is not going to be same in another 1 year's time. You will see massive improvements happening on these AI platforms, and you will be able to the gap today of that 15% which I said earlier. I think that will also be bridged. Maybe just 1 or 2% will remain in another 6 months to 1 year's time. So this is the future of development now. That's what
Great.
I feel.
Okay, great. It was great catching up. Talk to
Thank you
you
so much,
soon.
Colin.
Okay.
Thank you, Colin. Take care.